Perks. What are the best perks to run on your loadout classes in Call of Duty Warzone? Today we're going to talk about the perk system in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but more specifically the perk system as it pertains to the new Battle Royale mode in Modern Warfare, Warzone. With Warzone Battle Royale, a lot of these perks that may have not been super useful in traditional matchmaking are far more useful in Warzone. Not only that, but some of these perks actually get additional benefits only available in Warzone. So today we're going to go over all of that for you guys. We're going to talk about the additional benefits you can get on some of these perks. We're going to take a look at each perk and weigh the pros and cons and how it might help you out in Warzone. And to wrap it all up at the end, we're going to go over what I think, in my opinion, the best perks are if you want to be the most efficient in a Battle Royale setting. At the end of the day, these are just my opinions on what I think the best perks are in Warzone. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. My only goal by the end of this video is to have you have a better understanding of what the pros and cons of all of these perks really are. Last but not least, before we dive into today's topic, if in today's video at any point in time I provide any type of value to you, you're entertained in any way, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. If you like the video, leave a like rating. If you dislike it, dislike the video, and let me know down in the comments section below what you think I can improve on going forward. So jumping right in to start off, we're going to be going over all of the perks in the perk 1 slot, that is the blue perk slot. Starting off with double time. Double the duration of tactical sprint and increase crouch movement speed by 30%. Now, something like this is pretty good in normal matchmaking settings, but it's hard for me to really see any groundbreaking potential in a game like Warzone. Of course, the tactical sprint is going to be great in situations where you need to rotate from new building to new building or house to house and you want to do it quickly. And maybe you could go as far as to say that the 30% crouch speed difference would make a difference at the end game where you kind of want to be quiet and sneak around in the last circle. But all of that is highly dependent on where the last circle actually ends up. If it's in the middle of an open field, you're really not going to be crouching around that much, especially if you don't have a lot of cover. Like I said, I do see the benefit in having a double length on your tactical sprint. I just don't think this perk is strong enough to be one of my main choices. Moving on to EOD. Take reduced damage from non-killstreak explosives and fire, and that's the keyword you have to pay attention to here, non-killstreak. The environment and map is massive in Warzone, so I don't think it's impossible for you to dodge grenades and Molotov cocktails. I would actually say it's pretty easy to dodge grenades in Warzone. Now obviously EOD does help protect against RPG and other launcher explosions as well, but I don't see too many people using them right now, and I don't see it being that big of an issue. The airstrikes and cluster strikes, however, are a pretty big deal in Warzone, and since this perk doesn't help block any of the damage from them, EOD is going to be a hard pass for me as well. Next up we have Scavenger, resupply ammo from dead players. This one's really quick and simple. I don't think it's beneficial at all. There is ammo everywhere on the map. I don't think you need to be running Scavenger in Warzone. Now moving on to Cold-Blooded. Undetectable by AI targeting systems and thermal optics. Does not trigger the high alert perk warning. I personally think Cold-Blooded is one of the best perks in this perk slot, hands down. Again, I can't overstate this enough. The Warzone map is gigantic, and it's very easy for players who are crouched or even prone in a bush somewhere to blend in with the surroundings, and you'll never know they were there. What this means is a lot of players are going to start resorting to using thermal scopes so they can better see enemy players around the map. If you're running Cold-Blooded, you're going to be invisible to those thermal scopes and pretty much render them useless. In addition to that, you're not going to be able to be seen or targeted by a recon drone. And in addition to that, if you're aiming at someone who has the high alert perk on, you know, the perk that lets them know they're being aimed at, they no longer get that auditory message that they're being aimed at, which means you get to stay in stealth mode. Cold-Blooded is a top tier perk, and I think you're going to see a lot of people running it. Next, we come upon the perk Kill Chain, and this perk has a different use depending on if you're in multiplayer or Warzone, so we're going to talk about how it's used in Warzone. This perk increases your chances of finding kill streaks in supply boxes. So the kill streaks in Warzone are things like UAVs, cluster strike, airstrike, shield turret, things like that. The only way to get them is either find them in chests or buy them from one of the buy stations, so this perk just gives you a better chance to just find them in chests without having to spend your cash. That being said, I don't think it's that hard at all to come across pretty decent stockpiles of cash in Warzone, so I don't see Kill Chain being super beneficial. The last perk we're going to talk about in the perk 1 slot is Quick Fix. Killing players immediately starts health regeneration. Capturing and holding objectives increases your health regeneration rate. That last part is completely meaningless in Warzone. And killing players immediately starting health regeneration, I just don't really see the usefulness there. Your health already regens pretty quick in Warzone as it is, so if you just find some cover and maybe work with your teammates a little bit, your health will be regenning in no time anyway. Moving on to the red perk slot, or perk slot 2, and in my opinion, these perks can have some of the biggest impact on your Warzone game. Number 1 is Restock, and its Warzone only use is it recharges equipment over 50 seconds. Basically what this perk does for you is once you pick your loadout at one of the loadout drops that are on the map or one that you bought, you will regenerate your equipment every 50 seconds and you won't have to find more or a munitions box to get that equipment back. You can basically be running around and regenerate the equipment you bought. Whether it's grenades, claymores, or proximity mines, that's up to you, but it lets you know that you'll always have a constant flow of that equipment coming in basically once a minute. I can see this being useful in certain situations, in certain endgame circles, maybe when you're held up in a building and you want to block different doors with claymores and you can have multiple claymores because they're recharging for you. But overall, I think it's very niche and I think there are better options in this perk slot. Next up, we have Hardline, and in Warzone, this knocks 25% off the kiosk prices for kill streaks, field upgrades, and armor plates. What this means, guys, is anytime you visit one of the buy stations located all over the map in Warzone, you're going to get 25% knocked off the total price of everything in there. I've used this perk a lot personally, and let me tell you guys, it's very, very nice to have a reduced cost on some of these things. Now, I'm not saying everybody on your team should run it, but if at least one person runs Hardline, that enables the team to buy everything they need at a much lower cost. Give your cash to the teammate that has Hardline on and have him buy all the stuff from the buy stations. Have him buy armor plates at a reduced cost and drop them for the rest of the team. I think it's an A+ perk to at least have one person on the team running. Next up, we have another one of the best perks in Warzone, in my opinion, and that is Overkill. It's very straightforward. You're allowed to carry 2 primary weapons with your loadouts. This obviously allows you to be very versatile in a game like Warzone. You can have a sniper and then have an assault rifle as your backup, or have an assault rifle and then SMG or a shotgun as your backup, allowing you to play at different ranges and be comfortable doing whatever. I think Overkill is what you're going to see most people running in the perk 2 slot. Now, I will say that Overkill is completely dependent on the fact that you can actually get a loadout drop, but again, loadout drops are relatively easy to get in Warzone, so it's not really an issue. Next up, we have High Alert, the perk we talked about before. Your vision pulses when enemies outside of your view see you. It functions very similar to how Wraith in Apex Legends plays when she gets aimed at and she lets you know that someone's looking at you. I can see it being useful in certain situations. Obviously, it's always nice to know that the enemy has their eyes on you so they don't get a complete jump on you, but I just feel like there are so many more beneficial options in this perk 2 slot, and for that reason, I'm passing on this as well. Next up, we have what is, in my opinion, going to be the second most used perk in this perk slot, and that is Ghost. Ghost makes you invisible to UAVs, radar drones, and heartbeat sensors. It should be obvious why this is really beneficial, but UAVs are a big thing in Warzone, especially when you start getting into those tighter circles. Almost every team in endgame is going to want to have at least one UAV that they can activate at any time to let them know where enemy players are. If you're running Ghost, you're not going to show up on the UAV when the enemy team pops it, enabling you to get a sneaky flank or get yourself out of a sticky situation without being tracked. The last perk in this perk slot is Point Man. All members of your team earn more money from completed missions. For this perk to be beneficial, you only need one person on the squad to run it, so I can actually see it being pretty useful. But keep in mind, if you're not going to actively seek out contracts and complete these missions, you literally are wasting a perk slot. So if you're not going to do that and you're just going to play to kill people and never focus on any of the contracts, stay far away from this perk because you're doing more harm to yourself than good. However, if you and your team are all on board that you're going to go for missions early game and just try to rack up some money, I think it's a pretty solid option. Moving on to perk slot 3, and the first one we have here is Tune Up. Reduce the charge time of field upgrades by 40%, and in Warzone only, reduce revive time of your teammates by 25%. That's pretty big. What Tune Up basically does for you in Warzone is makes you play a lot like Lifeline in Apex Legends, and I'm sorry I'm making so many references to that game, but it's basically the same thing. Reviving your teammates 25% faster might just save the game for you in certain situations. If your teammate goes down and you're able to get him up that much faster, you can turn the fight right back into a 3v3 again and even the odds. Next up, we have Amped, faster weapon swapping, and rocket launcher reload speed. I don't mind this perk, and I can definitely see the usefulness of being able to swap weapons really fast. Say if you're sniping and someone pushes up behind you, you can swap to your SMG, turn, and kill them that much faster. So I see the utility. I just don't know if I'm completely sold on it being one of the top options in the perk 3 slot. Moving on to Shrapnel, spawn with an extra piece of lethal equipment, explosive damage, delays enemy health regeneration. That second part, I don't think it's as useful in Warzone as it is in multiplayer, given that you have to break through people's armor first to even start damaging their health. And the spawning with an extra piece of lethal equipment, aka when you get your custom loadouts, whatever lethal equipment you have set up for that loadout, you'll get 2 of them instead of 1. Pretty decent, can be useful in a few situations, but it's not the most amazing thing I've ever seen either. Next up we have Battle Harden, reduced strength of enemy flash, stun, EMP, and gas effects. You are also immune to snapshot grenades, which are the grenades that'll make you show up through like a thermal indicator through walls if you're in the proximity of them when they go off. I can see Battle Harden being a pretty decent perk to run because if you get hit with a flash or a stun grenade in Warzone and the enemy team decides to push you while you're under that effect, chances are you're probably gonna die. Running Battle Harden at least gives you that little bit of security knowing that you'll have more time to react to them pushing you after getting hit with one of those. Next up we have Spotter, see enemy equipment, field upgrades, and kill streaks through walls. Mark them for your team by aiming down sights, hack enemy claymores, proximity mines, C4s, and trophy systems. I can see this being very beneficial in late game circles where a lot of buildings are in play or houses. People are going to be held up, blocking the doors with claymores and proximity mines and other things of the like, so it's beneficial to know what doors not to push if you're going to push into an enemy team. This could definitely save your life in the right situations. And last but not least, we have Tracker. Enemies leave behind a footprint trail. See markers at enemy death locations and hide the death markers of enemies you kill. I think that second part more so pertains to multiplayer, but in Warzone, seeing enemy footprint trails, especially when you're in close quarters or endgame scenarios, can be very beneficial. Enemy players a lot of times, especially if they're not that great at the game, will like to hide in corners and camp in certain rooms and go behind doorways, and if you can see their footprint trail leading up to that spot, you're a little bit more prepared for it. So now for the moment we've all been waiting for. You guys want to know my top picks in each perk slot while you're playing Warzone. I'm going to give you guys my #1 pick and a close second for each category. In the perk 1 slot, my #1 go-to option, and I can't see it changing, is absolutely going to be Cold-Blooded. I love the stealth play style, and being invisible to all the thermal scopes that I know are going to be on every map is invaluable to me. A close second in this category for me is going to have to be Double Time. I can absolutely see the value of being able to rotate and dodge and weave between buildings a lot faster than you normally could if you didn't have it on. The perk #2 slot, this is a lot harder of a pick for me because I feel like there are so many good options in this slot, but my #1 pick is going to go to Overkill. The value of Overkill cannot be overstated, and having 2 primary weapons come from one of your custom loadouts at the loadout drop of your design and of your choice is just, it's so good to me. It allows you the versatility of having a completely different playstyle strapped to your back, ready to go at any time. My second runner-up for perk slot #2 is gonna have to go to Hardline, and I know a lot of you are saying, Lucci, why didn't you pick Ghost? Well, that's because I consider myself more of a team player and less of a lone wolf player. Hardline allows me to be more of a team player and have a bigger impact on my team's success rate if I can buy everything for my team at lower prices. In my personal opinion, I think Ghost is best used if your entire team uses it so nobody on your team can be seen on UAVs. Because of that reason, my second runner-up is going to have to stay at Hardline. And finally, in the perk 3 slot, my #1 pick is going to have to go to Tune-Up. Tune-Up is not only great if one person runs it, but it's even better if all 3 members of your squad run it, because at all times, you know you have 25% increased revive time, so you can get your teammates up and you can get them up fast. I'm going to be real with you guys, I really don't have a second favorite in the perk 3 slot. I would run Tune-Up all day, every day if it were up to me, but if you pointed a gun to my head and said, hey, you have to pick a second option, I'm going to go with my playstyle a little bit here, and I'm going to pick something like Amped for the faster weapon swapping. A lot of the times, my preferred loadout is a sniper and an SMG or a sniper and assault rifle, so if I get flanked from behind while I'm sniping, I want to know that I can swap weapons really fast, get some shots down range, and eliminate the target. That's going to do it today, guys, for the video. I hope you learned something today, and if you did, if you got any type of value from this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button and leaving a like rating down below. Drop a comment in the comment section and let me know what your favorite perks are in Call of Duty Warzone right now. I hope to make this channel your one-stop shop for all Call of Duty Warzone content going forward through the spring, the summer, the next year. As long as this game stays good, I will stay playing it, so keep an eye out for more content coming this week. I love you all very much, and as always, peace!